I won our childhood game of hide and kill. It's why my friends are dead. The police found my friends with their mouths stuffed full of leaves. That's what the report said, anyway. The one I found years later when I finally got the courage to look. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before the leaves, before the silence that swallowed our neighborhood whole, there was the game. We called it hide and kill. I know how that sounds. We were just kids, 10 years old, with scabby knees and a bottomless appetite for the kind of stupid danger that only feels safe in the bright light of a summer afternoon. We didn't know what real fear was. Not yet. Our world was the woods behind my house, a tangled mess of oak and pine we called the Mirkwood. It wasn't big, maybe an acre squeezed between the last row of houses and the dead-end highway, but to us it was a kingdom. It smelled of damp soil and decay, a sweet, earthy perfume that meant freedom. The game was Deacon's idea. He'd seen some movie his parents forbade, and the next day he showed up with a broken length of PVC pipe, waving it like a sword. Hide and seek is for babies, he declared. This is better. The rules were simple. One person was the hunter. The rest were prey. The hunter would close their eyes, lean against the big scarred oak we called the sentinel, and count to 50. When they finished, they had to whistle, a short, sharp, two-note tune, like a bird call from a bird that didn't exist. That was the signal. The hunt was on. When the hunter found you, they'd grab your shoulder and whisper, "Tagged. You were dead." The game wasn't over until everyone was found. We were morbid little shits. We loved it. Deacon, Iskra, Ori, and me. That was the crew. Deacon was our leader, all loud confidence and a grin that was missing a tooth. Iskra was a spark, quick and clever, with a laugh that could cut through the thickest summer humidity. Ori was quiet, thoughtful, and always carried a cheap plastic flashlight that flickered more than it shone. And then there was me. Kaz, the best hider. We had a stupid chant we'd do before every round. Deacon would raise his PVC pipe like a scepter. Shadows deep in forest floor, lock your breath, and bolt the door. We'd all shout the last line together. Hunter's coming, say no more. Then the count would start, and we would scatter like mice, our laughter swallowed by the trees. We never thought about how our game might sound to someone else, someone listening from the shadows we took for granted. There was one place in the Mirkwood we all feared. The gullet. A concrete drainage pipe sunk into a muddy embankment by the creek. It was a perfect black maw, big enough for a kid to crawl inside, weeping rusty water that stained the ground orange. The air inside was cold, even on the hottest days. It hummed. The first time we found it, Deacon dared Ori to go in. He made it about 5 feet before scrambling back out, pale and shaking, swearing he heard something breathing in the dark. We laughed, of course, but none of us went back in. Not for a long time. It became the ultimate dare. The one place nobody was brave enough to use in Hide and Kill. My dad used to warn me about the Mirkwood, said it wasn't safe. He told me a story once about a man who used to camp out there years before our houses were built, a transient who the town whispered about. They said he collected things, shiny things, things that didn't belong to him. They said a girl went missing, and when they finally found her, pieces were gone. But when you're 10, a warning from your dad just sounds like a challenge. That last day, the sky was the color of a bruise. The air was thick, heavy, promising a storm that never came. We met at the Sentinel, the 4 of us, buzzing with the restless energy of a day too quiet. We argued over who would be hunter. Finally, Deacon pointed his pipe at me. "Kaz, you're it. Unless you're scared." Iskra smirked. "Yeah, Kaz. Bet you won't hide in the gullet." The words hung there. A challenge. My stomach did a slow, cold flip. I could almost smell it. That whetstone and rot. The kind of cold that feels like it's inside you. But I was 10. And pride is a powerful, stupid thing. "Fine," I said, trying to sound bored. "I will." Deacon's eyes lit up. "All right, hide and kill you. Got 50 seconds, Kaz." He turned to the sentinel, covered his eyes, and started the count. His voice was loud, echoing off the trees. 1, 2, 3. Iskra and Ori vanished into the green. I stood there for a second, my heart hammering against my ribs. Then I ran. I sprinted toward the creek, the wet leaves slapping against my jeans. The woods felt darker today, the fat gray clouds sucking the color out of everything. 20, 21. I reached the embankment. The gullet was there, waiting. A perfect circle of black. Someone had spray painted a sloppy red smile near the top lip of the pipe. It looked like it was drooling rust. 40 EIG, 49. I took a breath and crawled in. The world changed. The air went from warm and humid to cold and dead. My hands sank into slimy mud. Each move I made was a hollow splash, an echo that seemed to travel forever down the pipe. The circle of daylight behind me got smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny gray coin. I stopped about 30 feet in, where the pipe curved slightly, and crouched in the dark. My jeans were soaked. The smell was awful. Earth, metal, and something else. Something sour, like spoiled meat. 50. Silence. Then came the whistle. That sharp two-note call. But it sounded wrong in here. The concrete walls stretched it, warped it. It didn't sound like Deacon. It sounded thin, hungry. I grinned in the dark, let him look. He'd never find me here. I heard the sounds of the game, a distant crash of undergrowth, faint, muffled laughter. Then another sound, a sharp snap, followed by a single, sharp clap. Not our rules. What was that? A minute later, I heard Iskra shriek, a sound that was half laugh, half scream. It cut off abruptly. Then, two sharp claps, far away. Got you. Deacon's voice drifted through the woods, faint. I smiled. He'd found Ori. One more to go, just Iskra. But then he whistled again, the two-note call. Why would he do that? The hunt was still on. It didn't make sense. The whistle came again, closer this time, much closer to the gullet. I pressed myself against the cold curve of the pipe. My heart started that familiar kid excitement rhythm, the thrill of almost being caught. Then the woods went quiet, dead quiet, not even birds. Just the slow, steady drip of water somewhere behind me in the absolute blackness. I waited and waited. The silence stretched. My legs started to cramp. The fun feeling evaporated, replaced by a dull throb of unease. Maybe the game was over. Maybe they all went home. Fucking Deacon. I was about to crawl out when I heard it, a splash. Not from the entrance, from deeper inside the tunnel, from the darkness ahead of me. My breath caught in my throat. Deacon? I whispered. My voice was a tiny, stupid sound. Another splash, slower this time, a heavy, dragging step. Not the sound of a kid in sneakers. This was the sound of a boot pulling out of thick mud. It wasn't Deacon. I flattened myself against the wall, trying not to exist. The breathing started then, a wet, ragged sound, like pulling air through a wet sponge. It was close. The splashing got louder, steady, methodical. Someone was walking toward me from the endless dark. I should have run. I should have scrambled back toward the light, but I was frozen. Every muscle in my body was locked tight. Then a voice slid out of the black. It was a low, gravelly whisper. It whistled. The same two notes Deacon used. A perfect, chilling mimicry. My blood turned to ice. He'd been listening. He'd learned our game. I saw a shape then, a blot of darkness that was even darker than the tunnel. A huge silhouette blocking what little light might have been at the other end. Broad shoulders. Something long in one hand. He took another step. The water sloshed around his boots. I could smell him now. Old sweat, river mud, booze, little rabbit, the voice rasped. It was a conversational tone, like he was talking about the weather. Hiding in the dark, my lungs burned. I needed to breathe, but I was terrified the sound would give me away. He chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. Heard your friends playing. Sounded like fun. Another step, closer. Maybe 20 feet away. They weren't very good at hiding. He stopped. The only sound was the drip, drip, drip of water, and that horrible, wet breathing. He was listening, hunting. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I thought if I stayed still enough, I would become part of the concrete, part of the dark. He was silent for a full minute. I thought maybe he'd leave. Maybe he hadn't seen me. Then he whispered, so close I felt the vibration in the wall. "There you are." I didn't think. I just moved. I scrambled backward, hands slipping in the muck, splashing blindly toward the gray coin of daylight. Behind me, the tunnel exploded with noise. Water thrashed. Heavy footsteps pounded, chasing me. "No," he roared, a sound so loud it felt like a physical blow. The tunnel amplified it into a monstrous, echoing bellow that vibrated in my bones. I didn't look back. I just crawled, clawing my way over the rough concrete, the gray circle growing bigger, brighter. I could hear his ragged breath right behind me, feel the splash of his steps on my legs. Just as my hands hit the damp grass at the entrance, the footsteps stopped. The tunnel went silent again. Shaking, I risked a look back. He was standing there, maybe 10 feet inside, a hulking shadow. I couldn't see his face, just the outline of his body against the profound black. Something glinted in his hand. He sighed. A long, weary sound, full of disappointment. "Run home," he rasped. The echo warped his voice. "Hunter's still hungry." Then he turned and walked back into the darkness. The sound of his boots splashing in the water grew fainter and fainter until it was gone, leaving only the dripping. I didn't wait. I scrambled out and ran. I ran harder than I have ever run in my life. Branches tore at my clothes, whipped across my face. My lungs were on fire. I didn't care. I just ran toward the light, toward home. I burst out of the tree line into my own backyard and collapsed, my legs giving out. I lay on the grass, sucking in air, my body shaking so hard my teeth chattered. Then I heard the sirens. 2 police cars were parked on my street, their lights painting silent, flashing strokes of red and blue across the houses. My mom was on the lawn, her face buried in a police officer's shoulder. She saw me and screamed my name. It wasn't a happy sound. It was a raw, broken thing. She ran and crushed me in a hug that hurt. Over her shoulder, I saw Ori's dad pacing, his hands knotted behind his head. I saw Iskra's mom sitting on the curb, clutching a single muddy pink sneaker to her chest. Deacon's parents were just holding each other, swaying slightly, their faces completely blank. They found them an hour later, not far from the gullet. The official report said they'd been attacked. It mentioned a sharp implement. It never made the papers, but the town whispered. They whispered about how the bodies were arranged, how their mouths were packed tight with dirt and wet leaves. A warning, or a trophy. They never found him. For years I buried it. I built a wall around that day and refused to look over. It was a freak accident. A stranger in the woods. It had nothing to do with our game. It couldn't have. Then, last year, on the 20th anniversary, I couldn't stand it anymore. I dug through the online town archives, my hands shaking so bad I could barely type. I found the article. 3 youths slain in wooded area. And deep in the article, one sentence made my heart stop. An anonymous caller, a bird watcher who was near the woods that afternoon, reported hearing a strange 2-note whistle shortly before the estimated time of the attacks. Our signal. Our stupid fucking game. He didn't just find them. He hunted them. He played our game, and he won. He found all of them. Except me. Which means he didn't finish. The game isn't over. Sometimes, when the house is quiet and the night is deep, I hear it. A floorboard creaks downstairs. A branch scrapes against my window. And I think I can hear the faint, steady drip of water. And sometimes, carried on the wind, I hear a whistle. 2 notes, short and sharp. He's still out there, and he knows I'm the only one left to find.